Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Common Tongue Podcast. So this episode, as you can tell from the title, is a little bit more serious. And I just want to put up front, heavy disclaimer, heavy trigger warning. This is definitely viewer discretion advised. There's stuff, needles, and we talk about cancer, and we talk about health problems and pain. I think there's like a few mentions of blood and everything that's associated with cancer. So if that makes you uncomfortable, I'm highly recommending that you don't listen to this. As excited as I am for this episode and as proud as I am of this episode and the fact that we're uploading this, this episode is definitely not going to be for everybody. Even while I was editing this, my toes were curling so much at some points, but he wanted to record this, and I obliged him because I genuinely felt like this isn't an experience that you normally get, and this is what I wanted. Somebody who is open and willing to share something about themselves that people normally don't get to hear, and that's why I started this podcast. So hopefully, if you're still here, hopefully you enjoy this. And if you do, I appreciate that for you sticking around and listening through. This is going to be in two parts. So this week is part one. Next week is going to be part two. This part isn't as bad as the second part, but the second part, that's a rough one. So I'm just trying to prepare everybody for that. But yeah, so thank you guys for sticking around and supporting the show. And I'm not going to put any ads in this. I wanted to keep this as serious as possible and just to keep it as clean and keep the story as unbroken as possible. So yeah, without further ado, let's just jump into the episode, shall we? Hey everybody, welcome to another mediocre attempt at what we call a podcast here at the Common Tongue Podcasts. Today we have a really interesting topic, I guess. I never thought that I would cover this on this podcast, but I'm excited to see what I can learn from this. Please, sir, if you would be ever so kind, would you please introduce yourself and state your name for the record?
Hi, my name over the interwebs is Riptide. You can find me at everything Aquatik Esports. I'm their head of production and an online personality, but my friends and family call me Tad.
Really? That's so cute. That's such a cute name.
And it has an H in it.
Oh, so you're Irish.
No, I'm German.
Because the minute you said that, like Tad, I was like, oh, Tings.
Well, no, think
Irish.
think about other like names that come from like that area, though, right?
Yeah.
So you think about. I was a real smart aleck growing up. Of course, I'm sure that's a shocker.
Yeah, right.
So especially when I was in like some sort of English like comp class growing up as a kid, they would say Thad, and I would say that's not my name. Of course, first day of school, that's the great way to earn brownie points as a teacher, right?
Yeah.
And they would say, "Well, it has an H here." I say, "Well, you don't say Thomas or Theresa, do you?" And that's what I would say. Yeah, good way to. I wasn't the greatest at school, but no, I come from last name's Reisen, so I come from a very heavy German background. So the way we kind of think about it is it's not Thad, it's Tad. So you're not saying in English, you'd be saying in German where there's like a heavy emphasis, like that H is almost like a gasp or a breath of air almost. So it's Tad.
In linguistics, we'd call that a glottal stop.
There you go. That's right. You are. We're just literally talking about your linguistics background before we came on.
Yeah, it makes my life horrible. No, genuinely, I can't get through a single movie that has a foreign language in it without me pausing it for about 10 minutes and going into this tirade about why this is the greatest movie alive. I'm not. So I'll give you the best example, okay, and then we'll get into what you're actually here to talk about.
Sure.
Okay. So, you know the movie Black Panther, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Black Panther from
cool movie,
Marvel,
from Disney and Marvel. Yeah.
So I can't say what the language is, but so the fictional
Wasn't it made
language.
Up though? I mean, it's a made up.
No.
It's a made up
The
Like
country is
country in
made up.
Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, so Wakanda is a fictional place. The language that they speak in Wakanda is a real language.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's a click language from South Africa, and I'm gonna butcher this because I don't speak it and I don't have clicks natively in English, but I'm pretty sure it's like Xhosa, right? That's how. So there, it has clicks, and it's spelled. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna pull up a page real quick just so I don't mess my stuff up. I want to say it's spelled Xhosa.
Real quick, I was while you were saying that, I was enjoying a tropical pineapple marshmallow from the Asian market store. It was delicious. I just wanted to say it has a little Hello Kitty on it. It was given to me by one of the ladies who works here. She's very nice. Which actually I think was a regift from Neptune from
Oh,
her.
okay, great.
Actually, I'm almost positive it was. So sorry, it was very delicious.
Okay, so yeah, I was right. So it is Xhosa. I'm just gonna gloss right past that and keep going. Although that does sound very delectable.
I was starting to eat it and I was like, oh, they could probably hear me.
Probably, just so you know, if you hear them in the
It was
background.
very delicious. I'll refrain from doing that.
Okay, great. Oh gosh. No, so I'm watching this movie, right? I'm watching Black Panther, and I hear one of the characters, he's okay. You've seen the movie, I'm not gonna spoil anything. So when he's in the when he's in the ancestral plane talking to his dad, they start speaking this string of Xhosa. I don't know. So
sounds like you're making a smooch almost over the microphone.
So basically, they had this conversation in the astral realm, right? Him and his dad. After his dad is passed, and he says the word "irready." That I didn't really roll it. So like "irready." There you go. He says that word, right?
Okay.
He says something "irready, Baba," right? So here's the thing. I learned this because I actually met somebody who speaks the language.
Oh, that's cool.
They learned how to speak it, and he said, "Yeah, that's a thing that they do. That whenever there is a word." And okay, so before I get to that, so I was watching this movie and I stopped it in the middle of the movie. I was watching with a group of friends and I was like, "Stop the press! Did you hear that?" And everybody looked at me confused and they were like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "You didn't hear that," and nobody did. So I spent the next 10 minutes explaining why this is the greatest movie ever.
It ruined the movie.
Yeah, it's like, oh, dude, did you notice that Xhosa has a word that technically should exist in every language, but they had to borrow it from English and make it into their own?
I do that throughout movie. Actually, I do that through like everything. I'm just overly serious about way too much, and then I'm also overly sarcastic about too much. So it's very hard to tell when I'm being serious or not.
Yeah, right.
But like, I know a lot about like religions and stuff. So somebody will make a joke. I'm like, well, did you actually know? And they're like, oh God.
Yeah. No, and I did that. I did that in Lord of the Rings. There's a part in the movie where Aragorn and Legolas say the same word in Sindarin, right? And they say it with different accents. And I was like, is that because of how the characters are supposed to be? Or is that just natively how Orlando Bloom and Viggo Mortensen say those particular strings of sounds together? And I almost wrote a whole paper on it. Not even kidding. So yeah, that's why I can't watch movies anymore that have languages in them because I
don't play any don't play any video games in their native language. Then you probably never leave.
I don't know if there are any language-based video games like that, or like that make language like a big intrinsic part of it.
That's like interwoven with English, or that because again, a lot of games are not written in English and then translated to English. Most
That's true, though. No, I was talking more about like incorporating a fictional language that has that much detail.
Oh! I see what you're saying. Yeah, I can't think of any off top of my head. Well,
That'd be a cool game.
Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X.
Oh yeah, the Albed Pioneers.
Yeah, Albed. Yep. Which is one of my favorite games of all time, by the way.
Oh, it's
not my favorite game of all time. So, if you're to guess, I'll give you one of these little marshmallow things.
I was thinking about something Trackpad said the other day.
What did you say about me?
No, he didn't say anything about you in particular, but the Aquatik group made the tweet about what's the worst video game. And for some reason, I immediately was going to say, oh, Battletoads your favorite game.
Oh, no.
And then it was like, no, that's obviously not it. It's clearly Chrono Trigger.
Two things. So I thought my computer just like died for a second because all my screen just went black. And I was like, oh, no. And then I heard your voice again.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I just went on standby. So that's why I just said "oh no" out loud.
Yeah.
Um, no, Battletoads is bad. Wait, so we're talking about what's our worst?
Well, no, because you asked what your favorite video game was, and I was like, "Oh, I was gonna jokingly say Battletoads because of something that Trackpad said to me the other day," and I was laughing at that. I was like, "No, obviously it's Chrono Trigger." So, ironically or sarcastically, I think Battletoads is. I
Funny
think
enough, funny no, Battletoads is definitely not my favorite game. So I love RPGs. I love JRPGs. And maybe this is for a different episode where we can discuss what my favorite game is. I spend an hour just building to it for everybody to be disappointed.
and
Um,
then minute
because it's actually
45.
not. It's actually not what you think. I mean, hell, we're almost 9 minutes into us talking about nonsense.
Yep.
Um, but so I've never played Chrono Trigger,
Really?
which is a crime because it is supposed to be like one of the greatest
Oh, dude, Akira
RPG.
Toriyama and Square. Oh, it's
Yeah, and
chef's kiss.
I almost bought it's on sale right now as we speak on Steam. And I was like, I should buy it. And then I was
I
like,
just got a copy of the
meh,
original for the PlayStation
meh,
1.
meh. I get it later. There's too many games. I rather play dumb games right now. My time is very limited, so getting into an RPG right now would be like really
It'd be
bad.
awful, yeah.
I've actually, silly enough, I've been playing Crackdown 3, which every time I say, everybody rolls their eyes at me. It's just like, ugh. And I'm like, it's like GTA meets Saints Row. It's a
That's
lot of
not a
fun.
good combination.
Oh, it's actually great. The story is bad. It's very lackluster. But like
Oh,
as a game, it's fun. Like the gameplay is absolutely
it's
fun.
mind numbing, you
You
know?
just yeah, you just jump around. You're a superhero kind of thing. You just
Okay.
it's fine. It's fine. It's a fine game. If you have Game Pass on PC or Xbox, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Just give it a try. I don't know if it's worth $60 or $70, but it's worth if you have Game Pass, at least worth checking out. So, but
Okay.
either way, I can go on all day, so don't mind me.
No, yeah, we're great. Okay, so today we're talking about something that might be a little rough for some people, so fair warning. We've given you warning. I'm gonna let you introduce this topic because you actually suggested that we talk about this topic. I wanted to talk about your boring role as a production manager within Aquatic, but you said no. I'm gonna talk about this.
So me personally, and I know again, aquatic means a lot to me, and it means a lot to our audience. For me though, and it was funny because to some degree, I actually don't like talking about my personal life.
Hmm.
Um, but I've always kind of been out in the public eye, whether it be through Aquatic. I used to do podcasts with my brothers. I was a streamer. I even traveled as a musician in a band and then just for a hired gun for
Hmm.
a while too. And so I've always been kind of in the at least even in some sort of small limelight, right?
Right.
And had
Yeah.
an audience. So you always kind of feel like and you have yours with your common tongue crowd, and so I always feel like you owe them at least something. You just don't want to disappear for a while, and then all of a sudden you're like, "I'm back. Sorry, I had this."
Yeah.
But so basically, I guess if you have to put a title on it, would be um, living life with testicular cancer and like what that's like. Because it's one thing people need to realize too. We're going to get into this more, I guess, as the story kind of progresses. That you have to specifically say what the disease is because
Yeah.
you can't just say because the C word itself, that cancer word is pretty scary
It's
and
rough.
it is and it's a lot, but
Yeah.
it means a lot of different things to a lot of other people. And so my journey may be, for other people who had testicular cancer, may be very very much one way and not the same for somebody who had breast cancer or prostate cancer or something of that nature.
Right. No, and that actually hits home for not necessarily home, but I know what you're talking about because my mom also works a lot with St. Jude.
Yeah.
So, I was around it a lot because she works for a children's research hospital. So I heard a lot about it. There were a lot of people in Memphis who we knew that were there just for their child to be at St. Jude. So I was around it a lot when I was a kid. It was always there. It was always talked about in some form or another. But I think that's a fair assessment that you have to be very specific with it because
Yeah.
not all cancer is the same.
Yes, and we'll get into more details of even what you're touching on with the children and stuff too. There's a little bit of a part in my journey that involves kids too that I can kind of touch on. But
Yeah.
so maybe I'll just kind of talk from where it kind of starts.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's start from the beginning because
So, and again, this is slightly graphic, and I will be revealing things about myself. So, not only would I say, if you guys don't like to hear about certain things about your body or somebody else's body, then this is maybe
definitely
not,
not.
maybe not for
Yeah.
you. And I would appreciate your respect that I'm also, sharing this about myself. So, but I'm also
Also,
I'm
before
not
we do that,
ashamed of
thank
it.
you. Yeah, thank you for coming on and doing this. Because again, I never thought that I would cover a subject like this. I never wanted to pry into this, but when you
It's
suggested, I was like,
it's so here's why it's important, right? I'm going to be very upfront about this, right? So as I um and a lot of people may, they may call me a fake for saying this, but there's a reason I did this. So all throughout my journey, I created several posts on
"Hmm,
Facebook, right? And at the time, um I was still kind of interacting with my music community and my in my streaming or no, I hadn't started streaming yet, so I apologize. So it would have just been my music community. I was in a still in my heavy metal band. It was kind of, we'll say, it was at the tail ends of it, which we'll get into.
hmm,
But I would make posts almost every day saying that I'm doing better and this and this. That was not always true.
yeah,
And so the reality of that is now people can say, "Oh, well, he lied." Well, so I'm an entertainer, right? Entertainers are supposed to, and that's how I view myself, right? You're viewing, you know, Tad, the musician entertainer, and the thing I was providing was strength. And
mhm,
so I painted a picture because if I sit here and whine and cry that I'm doing so bad and pity me and pity that, first off, I don't do that.
yeah,
um I'll talk about things that it could maybe seem like that, just especially if you're close with me, as I'm just going through a moment, it's like, oh god, I gotta get this off my chest. But I like to talk about things for learning experiences or strength.
yeah,
And so for me, because I've known other people who've gone through cancer, and the reality is, unfortunately, you're gonna know somebody who does have it, or you may even have it yourself one day, which is awful but true. And you have to remember to stay strong. So yes, did I paint a picture? I'm an entertainer, 100%. But the reality is people really weren't worried for me. Everybody encouraged me. Nobody thought, "Oh, wow, man, this is gonna be the, last days for our friend Ted." That was never a thought in anyone's mind, nor myself.
and not that it's on the same level, but what immediately comes to mind is Chadwick Boseman.
Mhm.
Nobody knew.
Yeah, he kept
No,
his
yeah.
straight private until he
Oh, yeah.
passed away.
Like, nobody knew. And so, it's probably there are probably similarities, right? And I granted those are 2 very different levels of it, but I imagine that's probably what you were thinking, that same thing of, "Oh, I'm an entertainer, and I'm gonna be an entertainer until the day I die."
Yeah, I always will be. But let's kind of get into it. I can
Yeah.
tell you how the story kind of goes. So I'm just touching on things about it. So basically, in May of 2018, um, just like any man should, you should regularly check yourself to see if you have anything that seems weird,
Mhm.
down below, right? And so I kind of do that when I use the restroom, just because it's something. And again, you should, if you're smart, you should do that regularly, right? As a grown man, I'm sure women have their own routines of checking for lumps and things of that nature. And so I remember one day that I used the restroom and that one of my testicles was rock hard. Right, this is an organ. Flesh
Oh.
does not feel like a rock. I mean, this literally felt like I picked up a stone in my hand. I'm like, that's strange. So of course, you check, WebMD, and you look, you go to the
Yeah,
internet for
the
help,
Mayo
right?
Clinic.
And it was just, use several different things. It could be an infection like a UTI. You can actually get twisted testicles. That's a reality. Cancer was one of the things I was reading. So I was
Yeah.
like, oh, well, this doesn't seem too bad. This could be several. It's probably nothing. I'll write a message to my doctor. I'll go on like the little portal, email him.
Right,
And
yeah.
so he emails me and he said the same thing. He goes, it could be a number of things. Just come in sometime next week and we'll figure it out together. Okay. No big deal.
Also, props to technology for making that so accessible. Just, like,
Yes.
immediate healthcare.
Yes. And we also have to remind ourselves too, because we have immediate, access to doctors and stuff, though, that doesn't mean we should start freaking out immediately. It really could be something very simple that's like, oh, you just need some sort of medication for a week or two and then this will go away, or hey, you're low in potassium, or whatever, maybe your body just doesn't have something it needs, and that's its way of saying, hey, hello, over here.
Yeah.
So my doctor says come in sometime next week, not a big deal, don't worry about it. So about, I think, a day or two later, that same testicle had a bump. Then the conversation changed because I did the same thing. I'm like, huh, that's not right, you know? And
Very
so,
calm about this.
well, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
That it was more confusing than scary because you're
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
like, I don't know what this, we tend to fear the unknown in our lives, right?
Undoubtedly.
But
No,
it,
yeah, 100%.
but like this, and guys get really personal about this kind of thing, and I'm sure ladies do too. But like, for whatever reason, a guy feels like a little bit more, and so I'm just kind of like thinking, what is going on? Something's
Right.
not right. I feel fine. Like me as I don't have any aches or pain or anything like that. So I really wasn't sure what was going on. So I did the same thing. I went online, kind of listed what's kind of going on. The difference, though, this time is every single thing that came up was cancer.
Mhm.
All of them. There wasn't it could be this. Mm-mm. Every single one
Everything
was
was
cancer.
pointing to yeah.
So I messaged my doctor because I'm supposed to meet him in about a week. And my doctor messages me, and he literally says a message of, just come in tomorrow. You don't need an appointment. Let them know up front that I told you to come see me. Be ready for me to tell you this is cancer.
Yeah.
That was his reply in an email. So you're kind of like, oh my God. So I think I
Yeah.
told my folks, who were just, kind of with the attitude of like, whatever you need, like,
Yeah.
is what it is. Um, Went to the doctor very next day. Um, and it was my, like my PCP, my normal,
Yeah, normal primary
practitioner.
care.
Yeah. And he, checks me out. And then even just, I guess, for learning, he has the PA come in and she checks me out too. And just as like a learning thing, because this particular disease is very, like, for that to happen is a very, very rare thing.
Really?
Yes. It's so testicular cancer actually only happens to one out of every 100 American males from the age of 15 to, I think it's 35.
Mhm.
So before and after that point, it really doesn't happen. It's kind of a freak thing if it happens kind of before or after. And part about it is the things that are linked to it, because we don't know what causes it, but we're starting to find out that it actually starts in utero. So as your child's
Oh.
developing, there's something that happens there, and then as you grow up, it starts to something triggers it to then start mutating incorrectly.
Ooh, also, hold on. Before we go any further too, I just thought about this. Nothing what we say here is medical advice.
Oh, no,
Let's
no,
just
no, no, no.
100%. Let's put that out there real
This
quick.
is just what I
Also,
went through. Yes.
yes, this is
Yeah.
all Thad's personal experience.
Yeah,
Tad,
Tad.
Tad,
Yeah.
Thad, Thaddeus. That's what I keep thinking
No.
of. Thaddeus.
Nope,
No,
just
it's
Tad.
Tad.
Just Tad
Tad.
with an H. Yeah,
So,
the only thing I will say is, if you maybe had some of the same symptoms I do, do the same thing. Reach out to your doctor. That's the best thing to do. Go ask your doctor.
yeah,
They will have a way better opinion than me, because remember, this is my body and this is what happened to me, not yours.
yeah, we're not medical professionals
Mm-hmm.
at all.
100%.
So,
So,
that's gonna be here and that's gonna be everywhere.
yep. So from here, the my doctor said, they basically, my doctor and my practitioner basically were both like, this is probably cancer, but they can't officially give me a 100% unless they
You have to biopsy.
biopsy, right? But because of where it is, it's not really a safe place to do a biopsy.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of things with testicular cancer too, you don't want to, you don't, so testicular cancer is actually very treatable. That's something I want people to know right up front. So if you find out you have it, don't worry. You'll actually be okay. Like, this isn't not many people pass away from this. That was one of the reliefs that I ended up finding out, right? And most people who do are usually from like infections or like, it's things that aren't actually the disease. So that's one of the really good things about the testicular cancer. The bad part about it is though, is that like you have to move fast. So if you have a particular version of testicular cancer, it actually runs like a virus in your body. Not like,
Really?
yeah, so it runs more like a virus and not cell based. But I'm going to get into that in just a little bit here.
Yeah, hold on, because
Um,
that's something actually that's I want just in case, because, we're all about learning here.
yes,
Cancer is not foreign. It's it's domestic.
correct. So
Let's
yeah,
put it that way.
most cancer is developed from cells growing abnormally. Something triggers it, but yes, yeah, it something internally. Now, something externally can cause something internally to trigger it. That's usually true.
Mhm.
Um, but it's not always the case, though, which we've seen with genetic research and things of that nature. So and I'll get in a little bit more. What I was just talking about here in a minute. So my doctor says, "Hey, we need to get you. We need to start moving fast because if this is what we think this is, and it could be because there's several different forms of testicular cancer."
Yeah.
He said, we need to actually get you moving fast. There is no like, and he even said, he goes, you must do whatever the earliest appointment is,
Yeah.
whatever it is. That's how serious this is. So he literally gets me an appointment with a urologist who's literally across the street.
Oh,
I go over there. It's gonna be it's gonna be that afternoon. They're like, hey, I just come back like an hour before we close. We'll see you. Not a problem. I actually drive home. Uh, I think I talked to my mother and I told her like they're telling me that this is like
like we
99%.
have to move now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we gotta start moving. Um, and I went to the urologist that afternoon. He did, he checked same thing, and he said, "Hey, this is." He said, I don't know until we can test it," but he said, "I know."
Yeah.
And he said, "If that's not what that is," he actually goes, "You probably have something worse in you." He said because that's how rare that is. And he said,
Wow.
we've got to move." And so he said,
In all honesty though, I think I would prefer that in a doctor.
"Yeah,
I would prefer a doctor be upfront with me.
well, but here's the reality of this." Because I said, "Well, what do we have to do?" He says, "Well, one, you're gonna," he said, "with the hour you have left in this day to go get blood work, you're gonna go get blood work done, and we're gonna like, if you got to pay to have it overnighted to me, then that's what you got to do." But I didn't have to,
Yeah.
fortunately. Um, so and then he said, "You're gonna come back tomorrow, and then we'll have a final answer, and then we'll make our decision." So we do that because what they're looking for, if you're ever in if if you're in the case that you think you might have a tumor, like your doctor saying you may have this, what they do is they actually will do blood work on you, and they look for tumor markers. They actually do this too for even women who are pregnant too. Your alpha fetoprotein, which was one of the things they were looking for in me because they thought I had a tumor. They look for because the same thing if you have a foreign object, quote a baby or a tumor,
Right.
your alpha fetoprotein will be off the charts. Well, come to find out, my alpha fetoprotein, my LDH, all the things that point towards testicular cancer were off the charts.
Yeah.
So he looks at me and goes, "We've got to remove the tumor." And so this was on a Friday.
Yeah.
And if anybody knows anybody with cancer, right? A lot of cancers are actually slow moving because they are cell based, right? We
Yeah.
don't know if mine is or not. So that's where the danger comes in because with certain forms of testicular cancer, the way it works is it starts at the base of one of your testicles. And here's something else to keep in mind: your testicles work individually; they don't work together. So they may work together when trying to produce a child, um, during intercourse, but not when it comes to functions. So
Okay.
like, my left side of my body had cancer, not my right, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
So the way this works, though, and the way the disease tries to kill you, or most of them, is it starts at your testicle, it goes up through your cabling, through your prostate, into your lymph nodes through your back, into your chest, your heart, then through your main artery to your brain.
Okay.
right? So the main goal is to give you brain cancer and then eat you alive, basically. And that's
Okay.
what happened to Lance Armstrong, is that he had stage 4 uh, brain cancer, but it was because he waited too long for his testicular cancer. And he's
Oh.
lucky he lived because of how dangerous it is when it gets like when you get to your
When it
brain,
gets to that stage, yeah.
it is one of those like get your affairs in order. It's not a
Yeah.
give up scenario, but it is like get your affairs in order because like it is the 10% chance of dying flips and it becomes the 10% chance of living
Yeah.
at that stage. So luckily we weren't there yet, right? I
Yeah.
wasn't showing signs of that. So blood work comes back to say we gotta have surgery. And again, if anybody knows, if you have a different type of disease and you have to have surgery, it takes forever to get booked. I was booked on Tuesday. That
Whoa.
my doctor pulled every string in the book to get me in because basically, if I'd waited 6 months, I probably would have been dead. That's the reality of how dangerous this is.
Oh gosh.
So it's one of those things, and that's what's crazy sitting in your mind is that like you're like, okay, I'm gonna be fine unless. And that's
I
where that comes in to where other people
oh,
now. So it's literally, how you always say like, you create your own reality and stuff like that. In that scenario, I don't.
yeah.
I literally, it's like the only thing I have to do is make sure I have the right doctor. And
Oh,
so,
man.
you
Okay,
know,
no, so
go
this is
ahead.
a question I wanna ask you, though, because this is just something that pops into my head. It's like, your doctor has this calm professional, we need to take care of this right now, like, there's no talking about this, we need this out
They
now,
were very
right?
stern, to be
Well,
honest with
yeah.
you.
And no, and that's what I'm saying is, like, was it unnerving to you to see that calm, like, firm hand just be like, "We're moving now," because that would freak me out beyond
No,
all belief.
I was more freaked out by my family practitioner going, "This is probably cancer." I don't like what ifs.
Oh, yeah.
I like
Yep.
knowing what something is and a plan.
Yeah.
So like I was very upset when he told me. But then when I went to my urologist, and he was like, "Okay, here's what we're doing." He just told me. He goes, "I can't tell you, but I am telling you. This is what you
Yeah.
have, and here's what we're gonna do." And I was like, "Great, get it out of me. Get this tumor out of
Let's
me."
do this.
At that point, I was like, "Okay, it is what it is. I'll miss a little bit of work. I'll be back. Like it's not a big deal."
You'll miss a little bit of work.
No, seriously, what's kind of sad too is to some degree I almost didn't take it seriously, and
Yeah.
I'll get into that too. So so I have the surgery, right? And for clarification, the way this works is if you have a tumor on your testicle, what they do is they cut open your abdomen, right? They can't cut open your scrotum because
Okay, no, yeah, that makes sense.
unfortunately, with what's referred to as an orchirectomy, they have to remove the entire testicle and the cabling that goes to your prostate because the cancer literally infects the entire. So like my prostate's fine,
Yeah.
right? And I still, like I said, it only affects one side of the body. So I have the other testicle still, but like they had to remove the entire testicle. Um, and we'll get into what that does later.
Yeah.
So they removed it.
Ah.
They stapled me up. I was fine. You know, I went home. Was good. Um, had I think blood work a week later, and I was cancer free. And so, like, dude, so
Whoa.
here now, there's a twist to the story though. We're not there yet. So I think I went back to work. Remember meeting the doctor? He's like, "Man, you're good. You're good. You still need to see your urologist in case it comes back and stuff. So you need to get
Mhm.
scans like periodically." He's like, "It's not a big deal. Like, you beat it." Now I have a friend who's a former urologist, and he kept saying, "Dude, you need to go through chemo." And I'm like, "I'm not going through chemo unless I need to have it." My urologist says I don't need it, and he goes, "You'll regret it." And so,
Are
dude,
you still friends with him, by the way?
who?
This urologist, your friend?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Just making sure.
Yeah, he's an amazing person. He's an amazing, amazing person. He's now a ghost hunter. Actually, he's a very wonderful man.
Oh,
Um,
that's a
uh,
change in profession.
yeah, he's great. So uh, I almost developed this attitude of like cockiness, to where I almost thought like, I don't know what people complain about. I was
Oh, it's
able
kinda
to
like that,
do
"Ooh, I
this.
beat cancer in 3 days."
I was like, I did this. This wasn't a big deal. like tumor, like everything's meant to be so scary. You almost think like, is this like an organized thing? Like
Is big pharma out to get you?
yeah, and like you really start thinking that, and you're just like, that was silly, right? I mean, I had it, right? There's obviously something wrong there, and so what they did too is they took the tumor because now they actually have it, right? They can study it. And what they did is I had three types of cancer. So I had selenoma, which is your typical tumor.
Okay.
I had in let me see if I remember this correctly. Embryonal carcinoma, which was the virus based form of testicular cancer. So which is a very dangerous one. And I had one more. I had three types of testicular cancer. I'm trying to think. I
Embryonal
can't.
carcinoma. Yep, found it right here.
And I actually can't remember what the third one is. I apologize. It's been a minute now. But yeah, I had three types. And so the reality was is that that surgery should have probably taken care of everything, right?
Mhm.
So I'm good, and I start seeing oncologists. And actually, where the comment about the child was, so I actually go to uh in Fort Myers, Florida. There's the county has like their own health system, and my primary had said, hey, you should check out this. Even though you're an adult, you should check out this child's hospital because they do research on testicular cancer and stuff, and how they can treat you, post and stuff like that. And again, it was just scans and whatnot. Um so I met with this man, and he was very, very nice. But to get to his office, I had to walk past the the chemo room.
Mhm.
And I'll say one of the hardest things I've ever had to hear was the cries coming out of a children's hospital chemo room. Is
Yeah.
very It's made me almost want to I can't afford to do it at the moment, but at some point in my life I'd actually like to take a step back from a career, and actually because it's very hard to make a living working um unless you're like a doctor or a nurse or something of that nature, which I don't have any medical degrees.
Right.
Working with children who are sick.
Yeah.
I really would love to do that one day. If I'm lucky enough. I mean, if not, it's fine too. But like, if I have that opportunity, I think I would take it.
Yeah.
Or again, or if I made enough money where I could kind of take a step back or retire and do that, I definitely would.
Yeah.
Um, so I did end up going with another doctor though, who was with a company called Florida Cancer Specialists, who was going to monitor me over the next 5 years, because anybody who has cancer knows that you have to, even if you're quote quote cured, you still have to be monitored, because
Yeah.
there is a small you even if it's a less than a percent chance that it can come back. Well, it can still come back. And so
Yeah.
I signed up with these folks, and they were super nice. I really love the doctor who I have and I still have. So we get that again. I'm still like, haha, I'm great. I even get a scan. I'm fine. I'm great.
Yeah.
About a month later, so I think we're just about July. So I had the disease, remember, 2 day or on like a Friday, and then like a Tuesday I had the surgery. So about
Yeah.
almost July. Um, I have severe back pain. I'm
Oh,
where I
no.
was working at the time, and actually, funny enough, I was working with Neptune. Um, for any of you guys who are Aquatik Esports fans, you should go check out our Instagram, Neptune Gaming on Aquatik. Gotta
He's a cool guy.
pimp the brand there in the middle of a cancer talk.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but Neptune and I worked for a software company,
Mhm.
and we are some employees had to park. Some of the newer employees, which I was still a bit newer, had to park in like a remote parking spot because the parking spot next to the building was really small.
Yeah.
So I parked, and I'm like, there's a sidewalk that kind of like takes you to it's like a block away, but it's a nice walk. But so you walk to the building, and so I'm like walking there, and I'm like hunched over walking, and he sees me, and he
Ah,
like kind of pulls up next to me, he goes, "Dude, you want to ride?" Because he was,
no.
I think he was a sales manager, some sort of manager there, and so he got to park at the building. And I said, "Yeah, dude." I said, "I think I
Yeah.
might have a kidney stone." And so
Yep.
I've had a kidney stone before, right? And I'm prone to stones, and
Ah,
but the
dude,
prop,
kidney stones are not fun.
no,
No.
But here's the thing though. If you've had a stone, you know that you only feel pain on one side. It may
Yeah.
kind of trickle over, but like you really only have the pain on the one side. Like, when it hurts, when you feel the sting, you grab the
You
one
feel it,
side.
yeah.
It felt like I had a stone on both sides of my lower back. It was the
Oh,
worst pain.
that's curling my toes.
It was bad. And actually,
Oh.
I deal with pain well. Even when I actually had a stone get stuck once. I remember I had to have surgery to have it removed. And I remember my nurses were like, "So, 1 to 10, how are you feeling right now?" I'm like, they have like, they point at the chart with the smiley faces on it, and
Yeah.
I said 9. She goes, "Really?
Oh,
Usually they're crying." I said, "Look, well, I ain't a wuss, but like, can we get the surgery going here? Like,
yeah. It's like, come on, like, and sometime today would be nice.
I'm not trying, I'm a grown man. I ain't trying to bust in the tears, but like, can we get this going?" So, but like, I have that feeling like a 9 on both sides of my back. I'm like, good Lord. And I sit at my desk and I'm, dude, I can't stop moving. I'm like, I had to pull Neptune aside. And I said, dude, I think I need to go to the hospital, man. Something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, hey, that's, not a big deal, not a big deal. And I told my immediate supervisor, I said, hey, dude, something's wrong. I got to go. So I told the both of them. Neptune was nice enough to drive me back to my car. Um,
Good guy, man.
and I went to the hospital. And so I had a CAT scan. And remember, no, like a few weeks ago, I had blood work. I had a scan done. Nothing was wrong. Nothing showed up. Everything was positive, right?
Yeah.
So I do blood work, and I do a scan, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and it's getting dark out, and I'm waiting. And finally, the doctor at the hospital comes in, and he does the thing where he like pulls the chair up to the bed. I'm like, ah, God.
Yeah.
And he sits down, he has all these papers in his hand. He looks at me and goes, "You ever had cancer before?" And I said, "Yes. Why?" And he looks at me and goes, "You have 2 lymph nodes in your back the size of golf balls."
Whoa.
So he said, "You have an oncologist?" I said, "Of course I do." He said, "I would leave them a message tonight and call them in the morning if they haven't called you by the time you wake up." He said, "If you have plans tomorrow, cancel them. If you have work tomorrow, call off." He said, "Whatever that is serious."
Oh.
So I, get a hold of my doctor immediately. They're like, come in, and we talk about it together. And my doctor says, he said, it looks like it's come back. And what's crazy is like the percentage was like, because it was surgery and not chemo, it was like a higher percentage, but it was only like a
Right.
10% less chance of it coming back. Well, it did. So the actual reality is so with certain cells, they can actually be um they can be smaller than microscopic. And that's why it's important to always do scans.
Mhm.
So it came back again as like a stage 2. In my
Whoa.
lower back. Kind of where a kidney stone, you'd have pains of a kidney stone, kind of right around that area. And so my doctor said there's 2 choices. Of course, death is never, never an option. You should always you should fight until the day you die, no matter what the topic scenario is.
Mhm.
Um, and basically was you can have surgery, and my odds with surgery were to the lymph nodes sat up against my spine,
Mhm.
and so they would have made an incision in my back, peel back my nerve endings, clip the lymph nodes, and then attach the lymph nodes in between, and then put back my nerve endings and sew me up. Now, that sounds very easy, but like nerve endings are beyond sensitive. One wrong
Yeah.
tug or cut or anything, I'm paralyzed. They even said like I may have the ability to lose an erection. So I don't have any children currently.
Yeah.
I would like to have that option at least. Um, like I
Oh.
think it would have been different if I didn't have kids, but they said this is the more like there's more things that are dangerous with this than the other option, which was
Yeah.
chemotherapy. And dude, I was not about to hear that. I said
Yeah.
I need at least a day. So like I'm calling I called that child doctor back. He said, you may want to consider going through the chemo. And I was like, oh my god. And then I actually called. I even called a holistic doctor, right, who dealt with cancer patients and stuff like that, and which was hysterical because he basically said there's no holistic know-how of curing this. You need to go through chemo. He said, I'm recommending chemo. He said, if you do not do chemo, you will die within 6 months. So went back to my doctor and said,
Wow.
let's do chemo. And so my doctor said, he goes, I know you've been calling for second opinions. He said, it's the right thing to do. He said, can I offer you a second opinion? And he said, yes. He said, so he studied at University of South Florida. University of South Florida has a company called Moffitt, which is one of the leading cancer research centers in the United States, and the leading one in Florida, for that matter. Now, they're not the leading for testicular cancer. That would have been, I think it's Indiana State University or maybe Indiana University. So,
The
um,
Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa?
so Moffitt is for cancer as a whole,
Yeah.
right? They're one of the leading ones. Indiana is for specifically testicular.
Okay.
So, what our game plan was, we're going to see what Moffitt said, and if it was different from what he was telling me, my normal oncologist, then I would fly out to Indiana to then have the deciding vote.
Okay.
So if I got a yes from one, no from another, and then yes. Um, so I went to Moffitt, spoke to him, and he was like, "This is obviously cancer." He said, I'm gonna call your doctor," because he actually studied there too. So luckily enough, the person who taught my doctor, that's the man I saw,
Okay.
um, which made me feel comfortable too. So he told me, and he said, you need to go through chemo. I said, well, when do I start? He goes, I mean, I hope Monday. This was like a Friday, and I'm
Yeah.
in Tampa, which is about 2 hours north, and you're just like, oh my god, like. Like, how do I even? I got to write an email to my boss, like, just be like, I'm not coming in for the next, however.
Yeah.
And so, I have enough time in the day to basically call my doctor and just say, hey, they're telling me I need to be ready for Monday, and they said, yep, we've put you in. Just be here at 8 o'clock on Monday, and we'll go over everything, and then
Wow.
you'll be going through therapy. So, I write an email to my boss just saying this is what's happening. I'm being, like, I have to do this. This is how serious, and luckily enough, and for people who are fans of Aquatik, uh, the software company I'm referring to owns the parent company that owns Aquatic also owns this one, so it's kind of the same group of people. So this when I've said it, anybody who's talked to me, I've said it that I've worked for Aquatic or Horizon twice. So Horizon was very supportive on getting me the help I needed. I mean, I had to do it, but just giving me the time. I
Right.
can't tell you how many times I've heard stories of like a business going, well, I mean, we'll give you time, but the rest is on your dime.
Yeah.
Not once did I ever have to fear. Um, I know no company's perfect, but like them doing that to me, I will always be grateful. And when they called me, I left on good terms and things like that. But like, looking to try something else. And when they had called me saying that they were doing the aquatic thing, I jumped at the opportunity because I knew there was good people that worked here,
Right.
and that I'd be in good hands, especially with the parent company.
Which is
Um,
really lucky, I feel like, especially nowadays with everything that you hear.
yes, yes, very, very much so. So my journey then starts on Monday. And so the way it worked was, and this is also very rare. Testicular cancer, again, the reality is that you'll probably live. And what I mean by probably is you're gonna live. Like I said, like when someone tells you like it's a 90% chance, or more like 99% chance you're gonna live,
Mhm.
it's just. I remember my doctor even saying, he even said like the first day I came, he goes, "You ready?" I was like, "I think so. I don't even know what like I'm in for." He goes, "You'll live, but just know this will be the hardest thing you ever have to do." But it's fine. We had a plan.
Yeah,
You
I'm
know what I
okay,
mean? Like
yeah,
that's my
yeah.
thing of just like, like
You're gonna hate this plan, but it's a plan and you're gonna make it.
think about why. And this is more of a joyful thing, but think about like the fear a lot of people have with children, right? Or even getting married. It's
Yeah.
not actually the marriage or kids. It's the fear of the unknown. Well, what do I do when I get married? What do I do when I have a child?
Yeah.
Versus when they have the second kid, they're like, nah, we were good. You know what I mean? Because they have a plan. They got to do unfortunately trial and error with baby number one, but baby number
Yeah.
two, they're good. So my doctor sat me down before I started treatments, and he said, okay, so the way it's going to work is you're going to come in Monday through Friday. Remember, I just said what. Hopefully, everybody heard that. You're going to come in Monday through Friday for 6 hours,
Whoa.
and you're going to sit in a chair and receive you're gonna get your chemo medication, which I was on. And actually, I'm just gonna say them, and I want everybody to just hear them, and not like I mean, you could look them up too, uh, but like just the names themselves are sound awful. So I was on a medication called etoposide, right? That sounds like what cyanide, like it sounds
Yeah.
bad. And then I was on a drug called cisplatinum. Um, yes, and so when you have a disease that can move through your body, it doesn't expand, it moves, right? So
Yeah.
it's more of what they refer to as like a circulatory, right? Because it can circle around your body. You also have to receive a drug that acts circulatory, right? Not centralized, right? Centralized starts in one place and expands. Mine starts in one place and moves up and affects,
Yeah.
right? So my my drug will kill anything in sight because it's moving, it's going around and just, it's just pumping poison everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And so I was on that. I was on a steroid called Decadron. If anybody knows Decadron, Arnold Schwarzenegger was, when he was abusing steroids, was on something similar to Decadron, or what Decadron would come to be, basically. This shows you how strong. I wish the only difference
Holy
is I don't look anywhere close to Arnold. And then I was on a drug called Lasix, which I've come to find out I was only on for one day because I had a allergic reaction to the
Oh.
drug my first day. So again, so my pattern, we'll get into the drugs again in just a second. So my pattern was I went Monday through Friday for 6 hours.
Yeah.
And then I had 2 weeks off. And then I went for another week, Monday through Friday for 6 hours.
So you had 3 weeks a month that you would do this?
I had 4 sessions of a week. So like there was 4 1 week sessions.
Okay.
Right. And then that was it. So like when you're told that, you're like, oh, that's not too bad. I can get through that. And then here's where the cockiness came back in. Right. So my doctor even said, like, bring some stuff, wear something comfortable, and it can get cold in there. It's, it's still kind of like a hospital. It's a specialist center, but it's still treated kind of like, as an emergency center kind of place. So they're like, it gets cold here, so wear something comfortable. You're gonna feel weird. You're gonna feel sick. We'll get into the sickness too, and bring something to entertain yourself. We don't have any TVs in there, so you need to sleep or you need to entertain. Yeah, book a game or something. So I thought, I have a Vita, my Switch, I have a 3DS, and I thought, oh, I'm just gonna play video games. And then the cockiness came in. So I was like, this is
Yeah.
stupid. I'm gonna sit here, ha ha ha. Me, I'm sick. Oh, so dumb. And I'm just gonna sit here and play games, and I'm gonna get through all these cool games, and and just push through it. The only thing I was really, really worried about was money because it was expensive. I had insurance, but like
Even then.
again, I said Monday through Friday, so every single day I had to make a payment. That was rough.
Whoa.
So now again, the cancer center was very, very helpful and reasonable. I mean, I never suffered,
Yeah.
but so here's where it starts getting like kind of crazy, right? So a lot of people talk about how they get sick, right? They throw up a lot when they have chemo. I think I maybe threw up once or twice, so it didn't really hit me that bad. But they give you, I forget the name of the drug, but they when you get there, it's very, very weird because they sit you down. They do this to almost everyone. So
Really?
unfortunately, if you watch it before it happens, it's terrifying, and it's bad too when it happens to you, right?
What?
So what happens is they have to give you some sort of drug to not make you get it lasts about a week, and it's to help you not throw up. And
Oh,
so
it's in what is that class of drug called?
I don't remember.
No, they had to give me one when I had a kidney stone.
Was it? No, this is very different. This is like a shot to
Oh,
the
then
stomach.
never mind. No, wait, hold
Yeah.
on.
So what they do, right, is it's terrifying though. They bring a cooler out of a cooler, right? So it's in like a big cooler. They have like a fridge, like a big fridge in like the corner of the room. They go in, there's like a teeny tiny cooler in there. They pull over, then put on like a tray next to you, right? And they got like a few shots of like they take some blood to make sure you check your blood work, make sure you're doing fine and whatnot. And then they're literally my nurse. She goes, "Lift up your shirt." I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Lift up your shirt." She goes, "Nobody told you? We got to give you a shot so you don't get sick." I'm like, "Okay." And she goes, "Where do you want me to freeze you?" So she takes this canned air, like you use for like your computer or something, right?
Oh, no,
And
yeah.
she freezes my stomach. It is absolutely cold as it can be. Like it is awful feeling.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then, dude, she pulls out this syringe that looks more like a knife. The needle is
Oh
super
my
long because it
god.
has to get through your fat or your muscle in your abdomen, right?
Oh.
And the needle itself is probably a little bit thicker than like a number 2 pencil lead.
No.
Yeah, no joke. Like the tip of like a pen or a pencil.
Oh
It's
my
thicker than that.
gosh.
And so here's what's even funnier. They don't hold it like how they normally hold it like you're holding like a cigarette or a cigar or something in
Yeah,
between your
like
fingers.
one-handed.
No, they hold it like they're holding a knife. Like they're jacking you in the gut with a knife. And then
Whoa.
they push it with their other hand. They push against you. And
Oh.
they literally go, "Are you ready?" And they say, "Don't lose eye contact." And they just
Oh,
shove it in you like a
no.
knife. And dude,
Ah.
I'm very good with needles. This is the only time I've ever been afraid of a needle
Oh
because
my god.
it hurts. It's not, and I mean, like, sometimes they're like, it's gonna hurt, and it's just like a little pinch, and you're like, oh, it ain't so bad, and maybe a little bruise afterwards.
Yeah,
I would
no.
have
Oh.
a ginormous, about the size of my hand, bruise on my stomach for a week. And
Oh.
your stomach would just bleed after because they pull it out and it starts bleeding, and they gotta like they actually bandage it up, right? And
Oh my
so not only am
gosh.
I taking that, they make me take a pill, narcotic for nausea. So I'm on like, and then they made me take one at home before coming in too. So I'm on 3 different forms of anti-nausea.
So
Ju-
the word I was looking for, it's antiemetic.
oh, okay. And what does that mean?
The antiemetics are over the counter or like nausea.
Okay,
Anything to
okay.
fight off
Yeah, so
nausea.
that would be all 3 of these. I actually had to get the ones that I got sent to my house, had to come from a government pharmacy because it's a controlled substance. Which again,
Whoa.
there's I had a lot of that. So, um, then they kind of cable you up, and that's a weird thing because it's it's this very like unhuman feeling. I mean, it doesn't feel bad or anything. It's just like a lot of this stuff is all mental that you deal
Yeah.
with in there because like you get hooked up, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And my there's actually parts of hydration in there because this stuff dehydrates you a lot. So it's usually an hour hydration, an hour of drugs, an hour of hydration, an hour of the other drug. Um, and like you just start, the first day though, it didn't really hit me that bad because I'm starting to be cocky and I go through the first hour and I hit the first drug. I'm like, this doesn't even hurt, like, and really the drugs don't hurt when they get pumped in. At least mine don't.
Yeah.
Didn't hurt at all. I was fine. And I remember pulling out my 3DS, and I think I was playing like I just bought they had released like the classic versions of Pokemon Red and Blue, and so I was like, oh, I'm gonna play through Blue, and it's gonna be so exciting.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
so dumb, like. And again, I had this cocky attitude because I'm like, I can beat this. I've beaten cancer before. I can beat it again. Whatever.
Yeah.
So you start to sit there, right? And it didn't hit me until they gave me Lasix. So they give you halfway through my treatment, so it'd be about 3 hours in. They give me a shot called Lasix. And what this drug is meant to do is and it has a little bit of like a burning feeling when it goes in, but then it goes away like a minute later.
Mhm.
But it's meant to make you use the restroom a lot. And if you don't, with these particular drugs, it'll just destroy your, I believe it's your kidney. because your kidney's meant to filter things out,
Yeah.
but if it has too much of like bad things in it, it becomes overloaded, you know? So it takes longer to filter out. And so this negative things just sit there in your kidneys.
Yeah.
Um, so what happened was, so you sit in like these big, like kind of like recliner things, which are pretty comfortable. I can say I've had many good sleeps in them. And there was like one chair, like everybody kind of claims a chair too. They'll tell you to sit in a row. It's like, can I sit in that row? That's my chair. So like
That's my
you
chair.
kind of and you almost get kind of pissed off when somebody else sits in your chair. And it's like, but you don't say anything. But you're just like, oh, they're sitting in my chair.
Yeah.
So like they give me the drug, and here's what's weird about it. I had allergic reaction. I had no idea I was allergic to it. So my body stands up. So I'm not consciously standing up. My body stands up for me, and I bend over. And then the nurses are like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I don't know what's going on with me. I'm in a lot of pain, and I have all this like
Ooh.
fire feeling going up my back." And I'm like, "I don't know what's going on." They're like, "Sit down." I'm like, "I can't move. I'm frozen." My muscles spasmed, and then that's how they spasmed. Was into a hunched over standing position. Remember, I was sitting
Oh my
in a recliner,
gosh.
and so they admitted me to the hospital. They admitted me to the hospital. I think my brother or maybe my dad drove me to the hospital because no, I think it was my brother maybe because he doesn't live that far away. Um, and so I was there, and they did all these tests. They did like an EKG and like a chest X-ray to make sure I wasn't having like a heart attack. And what's funny too is that like when I get there, like I have all these paperwork, and they're doing like construction on on the um
On the
on the
road?
hospital. So like I
Oh.
like kind of go through like a back entrance because I'm like, I don't know. And there's like this group of nurses just like chilling there. And remember, this is 2018. Nobody was wearing masks except for people who were severely sick, right? Because at
Mhm.
this point, I'm starting to take chemo, which means my immune system's starting to tank, right?
Yeah.
And a flu probably, a flu would have killed me, just would have wiped me out. And so uh, I walk in and they're already kind of looking at me like something's probably wrong because one, you're using the wrong door, but then
Mhm.
two, um, he has a mask on. So when someone's wearing a mask coming into a place is usually they know
You pay
something's up.
attention. Yeah.
Yep. And so they're kind of talking. I'm like, yeah, I'm not. And they're like, honey, you're supposed to go around to this door. I'm like, I don't really feel well. I was told to come over here. And they're like, what's wrong with you? I said, well, I just came from the cancer center. And they're like, you have
Oh.
chemo? And dude, here's what's funny. This part of the story I felt like would have meant more before COVID also.
Uh-huh.
Because I feel like a lot of people probably went through this now, but I had never experienced this at the time. But once I said the word chemo, I've never seen two adults run at a hospital before. Two of them run away. And then the other two are like, just sit here, don't touch anybody, don't come near anybody, make sure here's hand sanitizer, like
Yeah.
don't touch anything. And
It's
they
like that oh snap moment.
so what they were doing while they ran is because most people who go now, luckily I was only in day one of chemo, right?
This was your first day?
This first day of chemo. It was all first day I've been talking so far.
Oh,
All day one.
wow.
Right. So I'm in the hospital. I'm just sitting in a chair in like a back corner that I wandered into with all these stacks of papers in my hand. That was supposed to give to a doctor and a nurse. And so they get me a room, but it's like a specialty room that they have. It's a quarantine room.
Yeah.
And it's like pure, it's like, because most rooms,
Special filtration and
yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes,
No,
yeah.
trust
A
me.
normal
Air
room, they wipe them
filtration.
down and they just wipe them down and disinfect it. This room, yeah, it's because it's really expensive to put people in it,
Yeah.
right? So like even the doctor had like more things on. He didn't come in like a hazmat suit, but I would say it was like close to it, kind of looking kind of thing
Yeah.
to
And like
see me.
the blue suit and
Yeah.
everything.
And once they determined that I would be okay, they moved me to a room, like a normal room. But it was like I was in a normal room with nobody else in the ward because
Yeah.
I guess it was a slow day for them or something. So like come to find out, I just had an allergic reaction to the drug, and I was having a muscle spasm. That's what that drug does to me. It gives me a muscle spasm. That's it.
Oh.
And but they thought I was potentially having or I had a heart attack. And that's how my body was reacting to it on
Oh.
with foreign, like my body just freaked out and had a heart attack. So that's why they were doing AKGs and like chest X-rays. They were looking for but like they were looking for like chest chest issues.
Yeah.
So I go home. It's really late now at this point. Um and I got to get up like it's a job and go to chemo the next day.
Hey, everybody. If you finally made it to the end of this episode, thank you so much for sticking through to the end of the episode. I really appreciate the support. If you enjoyed this one, stay tuned next week for the second episode. Tad and we recorded a 2-hour episode, so part 2 is going to be going up next week. And we're going to keep going, and we're going to continue in the month of June with Aquatik. So we'll definitely see you on the next one.